There are things you understand too late when your hands tremble counting coins and your body can no longer function as it once did. Today, I want to tell you about something that kept me up at night for years, something that almost robbed me of the peace I so desperately needed at this stage of my life. It's not about a major business deal gone wrong or $1 million investment that failed. It's about something much simpler and at the same time much more devastating. The way I handled money my entire life, believing there would always be time to fix things, that more would always come, that tomorrow would be different. I'm going to tell you this because I need someone to hear what I failed to see until it was almost too late. Because if my story can spare even one person the pain I felt, then it will be worth sharing. When I was young, money seemed like something that came and went, like the seasons. I worked, got paid, spent, and the next month it all started again. I never really sat down to think about the future, that distant future that seemed not to exist, that version of myself with white hair and knees that ached every morning. I lived convinced that I would always have the strength to work, that there would always be someone to hire me, that time was infinite and I was invincible. How wrong I was. I remember perfectly the day I received my first real paycheck. I felt like the world was mine. I bought clothes I didn't need, ate out more often than I could afford, and gave money to anyone who asked without a second thought. I was generous, yes, but I was also irresponsible. I believed that showing I had money was showing I was worth something, that I had achieved something in life. I didn't yet understand that true value lies not in what you spend, but in what you build, in what you save for the difficult days that will inevitably come. For years I lived like that, saving nothing, planning nothing, blindly trusting that the future would sort itself out. Every time someone talked to me about saving, about thinking about old age, about making a plan, I smiled with that youthful arrogance and thought those people were exaggerating, that they lived in fear, that they didn't know how to enjoy life. Now I understand that they knew something I hadn't yet learned, that life isn't eternal, that the body gets tired, that a day comes when you can't go on anymore and you need to rest, and on that day you need to have something saved, something to support you when your hands can no longer hold you up. I didn't save anything. I spent money on things I don't even remember today, on objects that broke or got lost, on fleeting whims that gave me a happiness that lasted as long as a sigh. I bought designer clothes when I could have bought something simpler and saved the difference. I changed my cell phone every year when the one I had worked perfectly. I went on the trip without thinking if I could really afford it, just because my friends were going and I didn't want to be left behind. I was constantly comparing myself to others, competing, trying to prove that my life was as good as everyone else's without realizing that every penny I spent on appearances was a penny less for my future. There was a time in my life when I had the opportunity to buy a small property. It wasn't anything luxurious, just a modest apartment in a quiet neighborhood, but it was something of my own, something I could pay for little by little, and that would eventually give me security. I remember thinking about it for weeks. My parents encouraged me to do it. telling me it was a good investment, that having a roof over my head was essential. But I had other plans. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. I wanted to have experiences. So I decided not to buy that apartment. I told myself there would be time later, that first I wanted to enjoy myself, that life was for living. And I did travel. Yes, I saw beautiful places. I took photographs that I still keep in an old box. But when I returned, there was nothing left, not even enough for the down payment on another property. Prices had gone up. My salary had stayed the same, and that opportunity never came again. Today, so many years later, I live in a rented place, paying a sum each month that could have been mine if I had made that different decision. I'm not saying that traveling or enjoying yourself is wrong, but I am saying that you have to know how to balance things, that there are decisions that seem small at the time, but that determine how you are going to live the rest of your life. Years passed, and I continued with the same mindset. I earned money, I spent it, and I told myself it was fine, that I deserved those treats after working so hard. I never stopped to think about how much I was actually spending on unnecessary things. I never added up everything I spent on eating out, on clothes I wore once, on things I bought on impulse just because they were on sale. If I had saved even a portion of all that, I would have something today, but I didn't. And the worst part is that I also didn't invest in my education, in learning something new that would allow me to earn more or have more opportunities. I was so busy living in the present that I forgot to build the future. I believed that working hard was enough, that effort alone would take me far, but the truth is that effort without direction only leaves you tired. It doesn't get you anywhere. As I began to age, as my body started to ache and my strength began to fail me, that's when I understood the magnitude of my mistake. Suddenly, I couldn't work as many hours as before. Employers preferred to hire younger, faster, cheaper people. I, who had given so many years of my life to work, suddenly found myself with few options, an exhausted body, and nothing saved to sustain me. That's when the fear truly arrived, a fear I had never felt before, a deep and dark fear of not being able to pay the rent, of not being able to buy the medications I now need, of depending on others to survive. That fear robbed me of sleep for months. I would wake up in the middle of the night with my heart racing, doing mental calculations, adding and subtracting, trying to stretch every penny to the limit. It was a constant anguish, a feeling of having failed, of having squandered every opportunity I had. I had to ask for help. That was the hardest part, having to reach out, having to admit that I couldn't do it alone, that I needed someone to hold me up. My children helped me, of course, but every time they did, I felt a mixture of gratitude and shame. Gratitude because they were there, because they didn't leave me alone. But shame because I should have been the one helping them, not the other way around. I should have reached this stage of my life with something to offer them, with something to leave them, not as a burden. And I know they never saw me that way. I know they helped me with love, but it still hurts. It hurts to know that if I had been more responsible, more aware, more disciplined with money, I wouldn't be in the situation today. It hurts to think about all the times I spent on frivolous things when I could have saved for this moment. Let me tell you something I learned too late. Money isn't just money. Money is freedom. It's peace of mind. It's dignity. Having some savings isn't being stingy or cowardly. It's being smart. It's taking care of yourself and those you love. When you have nothing, you depend on others. And no matter how much love there is, dependence hurts. it takes away your autonomy. It takes away your ability to make decisions about your own life. Today, I can't afford certain things I'd like to do. Not because they're extravagant luxuries, but simply because I don't have the money. I can't buy my grandson a gift without thinking twice. I can't take my children out to eat without them ending up paying. I can't help someone in need because I'm struggling myself, and that weighs heavily, much heavier than I ever imagined. If I could go back, I would do everything differently. I would save at least a small percentage of every paycheck, even if it was little, even if it seemed insignificant at the time, because what seems small month after month, over time, becomes a lot. I would buy that property when I had the chance, even if it meant sacrificing some trips or luxuries. I would invest in my education, in learning new things, in opening doors that would allow me to earn more. I would be more mindful of every expense, asking myself if I really needed it or if I just wanted it on a whim. I wouldn't live in fear or stinginess, but I would live responsibly with my sights set on the future, understanding that that future would arrive faster than I thought. Today, I see young people making the same mistakes I made. I see them spending everything they earn, going into debt to buy things they don't need, living day to day without thinking about tomorrow. And I feel like shaking them, telling them to stop, to think, not to do what I did. But I know many won't listen because when you're young, you feel immortal. You feel like time is endless and that there will always be a chance to fix things. I used to think that way too. But the truth is, time flies, and before you know it, you're here, empty-handed and tired, wishing you had done things differently. I'm not telling you not to enjoy life, not to live, or to spend your life saving without indulging in any pleasures. Life is for living, yes, but it's also for nurturing, for building, for ensuring that when you grow old, you can do so with dignity and peace of mind. You can enjoy life and be responsible at the same time. You can travel and save at the same time. You can live well without spending everything. It's a matter of priorities, of knowing what's truly important and what's just a passing whim. I didn't know how to make that distinction, and today I'm paying the price. I don't want you to go through the same thing. I don't want you to grow old with the anxiety of not knowing how you'll pay next month's bills, with the shame of having to ask for help, with the regret of having wasted so many opportunities. Learn to say no. No to everything, but yes to what isn't essential. Learn to differentiate between what you need and what you want. Learn to wait, to plan, to think long term. I know it sounds boring. I know it's not as exciting as buying something new or going on a trip, but I promise you that the day you grow old and have something saved, something that gives you peace of mind, you'll be grateful for every little sacrifice you made. You'll sleep soundly knowing you can take care of yourself, that you're not a burden to anyone, that you built something solid. And that peace, that tranquility is priceless. It's worth more than any object you could buy, more than any trip you could take. My biggest financial regret wasn't losing money on a bad investment. It was not investing at all. It was letting money slip through my fingers without building anything with it. It was living as if tomorrow didn't matter, as if I would always be young and strong. And now that I'm old and frail, now that I need the money I didn't save, I understand that every decision we make today shapes the life we'll have tomorrow. I built a life of hardship, dependency, and regret. Not because I lacked opportunities, but because I didn't know how to seize them, because I didn't understand in time that the future arrives, and when it does, it doesn't ask if you're ready. So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this conversation, it's this. Take care of your money like you take care of your health, like you take care of the people you love. Don't waste it on things that don't matter. Build something with it, something that will sustain you when you can no longer stand on your own. Think about that version of yourself that will exist in 30 or 40 years. That version with a tired body and depleted strength, and ask yourself what you're leaving them. Because that day will come, I assure you, and when it does, you'll want more than just memories and old photographs. You'll want peace of mind, dignity, freedom, and that's built today with every small decision you make. With every penny you choose to save instead of spending. Don't make my mistake. Don't let time pass you by without having built anything. Because when there's no time left, when the opportunities have vanished, all that will remain is regret. And I promise you, that's a very heavy burden to bear.